The story begins with Jang Ha-ri, a 39-year-old successful woman who is completely immersed in her career. She works as a deputy editor at The Baby, a magazine that focuses on parenting and childcare. Despite her professional success, Ha-ri feels that her personal life has not worked out the way she would like it to. Her ultimate dream is to become a mother, but her age and lack of a partner make this task almost impossible. Nevertheless, Ha-ri decides not to give up. At first, Ha-ri faces problems not only in her personal life but also at work. Her co-workers and management question her competence in keeping a journal about parenthood, since she herself does not have children. So this fact creates pressure on her and also increases her inner insecurity. She hears caustic comments to the effect that a person without children cannot fully understand what it is like to be a parent. This becomes a source of deep frustration for Ha-ri, who wants to prove that her personal life should not affect her professional qualities. The situation becomes even more complicated when Ha-ri is suggested by her superiors to move to another magazine run by their media group, as her loneliness and childlessness are supposedly hindering her career advancement at a parenting magazine. This moment forces her to consider her next steps, and she decides it's time to make some serious decisions about her personal life. During one of their meetings, Ha-ri runs into Han I-sang, a free-spirited photographer who has recently moved into her neighborhood. Their first meeting takes place in an unusual way, as they end up at neighboring tables in a small restaurant. Ha-ri and the other diners try to warn I-sang about the poor quality of the dish, but he doesn't listen to them, and then agonizes over his unfortunate choice. Despite his failure, however, I-sang doesn't notice Ha-ri even though they live next door to each other. The next day, Ha-ri encounters an unexpected guest, her old friend Yoon Jae-young, who suddenly shows up at her house with a baby in his arms. It turns out that he's divorced and is now temporarily living at her mother's house. This comes as a shock to Ha-ri, since Jae-young hasn't been in touch with her for a long time, and now she doesn't understand why he suddenly decided to return. Despite her annoyance, Ha-ri can't resist the infant and begins to take care of the child. However, she demands that Jae-young move out as soon as possible, as she's not ready for such a sudden intrusion into her life. Jae-young, on the other hand, reminds her that they've been friends for years, and he needs her support after the divorce. Nevertheless, Ha-ri feels betrayed, since Jae-young cut ties with her for 5 years, because of his ex-wife, who disapproved of their friendship. Things heat up when Ha-ri calls her mother to complain about Jae-young's sudden appearance, but her mother sides with Jae-young and suggests that Ha-ri move out on her own if she's not happy with it. While working on a new project, Ha-ri is assigned to prepare an article about couples who go through fertility problems. She decides to dive into the issue and comes up with an idea for a long project that will talk about the process of dealing with infertility, from diagnosis to having a baby. However, in order for her project to be accepted, she is asked to go through a pregnancy simulation. Ha-ri reluctantly accepts this offer to better understand what pregnant women face. The experience unexpectedly has a profound effect on her. After putting on a special pregnancy simulation suit, Ha-ri realizes that her dream of becoming a mother is not just a biological desire, but a deeply emotional need. As she tries on the role of a pregnant woman, she begins to feel that this is her calling, and her determination to have a child becomes even stronger. Despite her professional ambitions and successes, Ha-ri realizes that her personal happiness is closely tied to motherhood. She decides not to put her dreams on hold any longer, and begins to actively think about the possibilities of becoming a mother despite the lack of a partner. At that moment, her past encounters with I-sang and the sudden appearance of Jae-young begin to take a new turn. Ha-ri begins to remember her failed attempt at a relationship with Han I-sang a few years ago. Back then, she had hoped that they could build a relationship that would lead to marriage and a family. However, I-sang made it clear that he did not want to have children and preferred a free-spirited lifestyle. This dashed her hopes, and now their paths cross again, which adds intrigue to her ongoing speculation about the future. As she continues to seek balance between her personal desires and professional life, Jang Ha-ri faces new challenges. Her desire to become a mother intensifies after her experience with pregnancy simulation, but she can't fully focus on it as her personal life continues to get messed up. The appearance of Yoon Jae-young, her old friend who now lives with her mother, adds even more stress to her life. Even though Ha-ri keeps repeating that he should leave, Jae-young pretends not to notice her resentment. His presence becomes a constant reminder of his divorce and young child, which heightens her own fears about the future and motherhood. Meanwhile, the situation at work becomes more complicated as well. Ha-ri continues to face criticism from her bosses, as they consider her unsuitable to work for a parenting magazine due to the fact that she is single and has no children. All of this makes her feel isolated, and her career ambitions begin to clash with her desire to be a mother. She realizes that her colleagues and superiors don't take her seriously, and this puts pressure on her. During this period, Han Sang, a photographer with whom she had romantic plans a few years ago, reappears in her life. Their encounters so far are limited to chance encounters, and each time there is a tense atmosphere between them. Sang, as before, remains cold to the idea of marriage and children, and this casts doubt on the possibility of any relationship between him and Ha-ri. During one of the discussions at work, Ha-ri decides to talk about her new project, which will focus on couples facing fertility problems. This project, she believes, can help her advance her career while also showcasing her knowledge of parenthood. She is actively working on her proposal, but feels that it is not enough for her personal satisfaction. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young continues to try to forge a friendly relationship with her, despite their past disagreements. His concern for his daughter Do-ah touches Ha-ri, and she unwittingly begins to compare her life to his. He has a child, even though his family life has not worked out. She realizes that her strong desire for a child is becoming more and more apparent, and it affects her decisions and behavior. Meanwhile, Sang, though avoiding a serious relationship, begins to notice a change in Ha-ri. He sees how her desire to become a mother is affecting her behavior, and it gives him conflicting feelings. He realizes that Ha-ri continues to see him as a potential partner, even though he is not ready to take that step. This creates even more tension between them. Ha-ri begins to think that artificial insemination may be the only way out for her. She discusses the idea with her friends but encounters different opinions. Some support her decision, while others think she should first find a partner before taking such a serious step. After deciding to become a mother through artificial insemination, Jang Ha-ri faces a new stage in her life. Her confidence to follow her dreams and desires forces her to act decisively. She searches for a clinic to help her with the procedure while continuing to work at a magazine. However, her thoughts are increasingly focused on what her life will look like if she becomes a mother without a husband. Meanwhile, her relationship with Han Sang continues to grow, though it remains at a rather strained stage. Sang, who has had several casual encounters with Ha-ri, begins to notice her changes in growing determination. Though he's still not interested in marriage or children, he's increasingly paying attention to Ha-ri and her determination. He has conflicting feelings inside. On the one hand, he is attracted to her strength and independence, but on the other hand, he is not ready for a serious relationship. Ha-ri, meanwhile, receives support from her friends, but her decision still causes mixed emotions from those around her. Yoon Jae-young, her childhood friend, continues to live in her house with her daughter Do-ah, and their relationship begins to grow closer. He sees Ha-ri moving decisively toward her dream of motherhood, and his feelings for her begin to change. He's no longer just a friend. His concern for her goes to a new level. However, he still hides his emotions, as he doesn't want to complicate her life. Jang Ha-ri faces new professional challenges. She continues to promote a project related to couples experiencing fertility problems and tries to prove her eligibility for promotion. However, her superiors are still skeptical of her plans, and her colleagues continue to question her competence. Nevertheless, Ha-ri does not give up. She remains confident in her abilities and is ready to fight for her dreams, both in her career and in her personal life. At the same time, Sang starts to appear in Ha-ri's life more and more often. They cross paths at work, and their interactions become increasingly personal. Although Sang tries to keep his distance, he feels attracted to this woman and begins to reflect on his attitude toward life. Perhaps his previous beliefs that he doesn't need marriage and children are no longer as unshakable as they once were. At this time, Ha-ri is getting closer and closer to realizing her plan for artificial insemination. She takes the first step by going to a clinic, where she is offered an examination in preparation for the procedure. She is determined to succeed, but her inner doubts still haunt her. How will her life change after the baby is born? Will she be able to cope with motherhood alone? At the same time, Jae-young begins to show his concern for Ha-ri more openly. He helps her with chores, supports her emotionally, and tries to be there for her in difficult moments. Ha-ri feels his support, but she's not ready to see him as a potential partner yet. Her thoughts are still with Sang, although his indecision about the relationship makes it hard for her to make a final choice. With each step toward realizing her dream of becoming a mother, Jang Ha-ri continues to face internal and external obstacles. She decides to move forward with the artificial insemination procedure, despite her doubts and mixed reactions from those around her. Her determination, however, becomes the cause of new worries and questions from both her friends and her family. Han Sang, a photographer with whom she has long had a strained relationship, now begins to show Ha-ri more and more attention. Despite his previous negative attitude toward marriage and children, he begins to consider his feelings for her. As Isang watches Ha-ri move steadily toward her goal of becoming a mother, he respects and admires her. However, he's still not ready to accept such a responsibility in his life, which continues to create tension between them. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young, who is still living with Ha-ri after the divorce, becomes an important support for her. He supports her every step of the way, even though he himself is in a difficult emotional state due to his recent family loss. His care for Doa, his young daughter, also has a strong effect on Ha-ri, reminding her of how much she wants to be a mother. The problems at work haven't gone anywhere either. Ha-ri continues to face criticism from her colleagues and superiors. Her professional accomplishments continue to be questioned because she is single and has no children. However, her new project to cover topics related to fertility in couples who face problems conceiving is gaining approval. This project gives her a chance to demonstrate her competence and prove that personal experience is not a necessary criterion for professionalism. Ha-ri gets even closer to making an important decision in her life when she receives the results of an examination at the clinic. The doctor informs her that the chances of successful fertilization are still quite high, but that she should start the procedure as soon as possible because of her age. This news alarms Ha-ri, and she realizes that time is working against her. Meanwhile, Isang continues to vacillate between her feelings for Ha-ri and her reluctance to commit to marriage and children. Their chance encounters become increasingly personal, and they begin to discuss not only work but also their desires and fears. Ha-ri confesses that her main desire is to become a mother, and she's not going to give up that dream, even if she has to do it alone. Isang realizes how seriously Ha-ri is taking this issue, and it makes him think about his own desires and priorities. At the same time, Jae-young can't hide his feelings for Ha-ri. Though their relationship remains on the level of friendship, his concern and involvement in her life begins to take on a new level. He sees Ha-ri fighting for her dreams, and it makes him want to be with her as more than just a friend. However, he realizes that her heart is still attached to Isang, and this prevents him from stepping forward. Ha-ri at a crossroads must make an important decision. Will she be able to continue her relationships with men who seemingly support her but don't share her aspirations? She begins to realize that her dream of becoming a mother comes before any romantic relationship, and this forces her to make a decisive choice. After Jang Ha-ri decides to undergo artificial insemination, her life begins to change dramatically. Her inner tension is heightened as she is now officially on the path to motherhood, a path that can change everything. However, despite this decisive step, her emotional state remains unstable. She is afraid of possible failure and how her decision will affect her relationships with others, especially the two men in her life, Han Isang and Yoon Jae-young. Meanwhile, Jae-young, who has been by Ha-ri's side all this time, begins to realize that his feelings for her are no longer limited to friendship. Though he tries to support her in whatever decision she makes, his own emotions increasingly make him wonder if he can be the one to help Ha-ri build a family. He sees her striving for her happiness, and it prompts him to think about his own desires. Ha-ri is also going through changes at work. Her co-workers begin to notice her growing tension, and her superiors continue to monitor her progress on a project involving couples experiencing fertility problems. This project is becoming increasingly important to her, as it reflects her own inner turmoil and struggle for her future as a mother. The project is beginning to take on a new, more personal tone, and this allows Ha-ri to feel connected to other women in similar situations. However, despite the support of some friends, Ha-ri faces criticism and misunderstanding from family and colleagues. Her decision to become a single mother is received ambiguously, and this increases her anxiety. She realizes that she will have to deal with the consequences of her choice, no matter how things develop in the future. Ha-ri begins to doubt her own abilities, especially when she faces difficulties in the preparation stage of fertilization. Isang becomes increasingly involved in Ha-ri's life, though he still tries to keep his distance. An internal conflict is tearing him apart. He doesn't want to get involved with marriage and children, but his affection for Ha-ri and her determination are increasingly pushing him to reconsider. Gradually, he begins to realize that perhaps his former beliefs and fears aren't as important as his feelings for Ha-ri. Meanwhile, Jae-young makes a decision as he watches what's happening. He can't just stand by anymore. He realizes that his feelings for Ha-ri are more than friendship, and he wants to offer her his support as a partner. He decides to talk to her about his feelings, but he doesn't know how to approach the matter properly without violating their long-standing friendship. This becomes a serious dilemma for him, which complicates his daily life with Ha-ri and his daughter. Jang Ha-ri continues her difficult journey to motherhood, determined to complete the artificial insemination procedure. but as her plans become more concrete, life around her begins to take on new colors. Han I-sang, who had previously been certain of his unwillingness to start a family, can no longer ignore his feelings for Ha-ri. Despite his desire for independence and freedom, he begins to wonder more and more if he's been living the right life all these years, denying the possibility of starting a family. Ha-ri, despite support from friends and coworkers, feels an inner tension. Doubts about the future and how motherhood will change her life constantly haunt her. Her marital status and age continue to draw attention at work, and every time she meets resistance, it adds to her insecurities. However, she remains firm in her decision. She is not ready to give up her dream of becoming a mother. Hyun Jae-young continues to stay by Ha-ri's side and gradually realizes that his feelings for her have grown deeper. He doesn't just want to be her friend and support her as a caring person. He begins to think that he could be the one to help her raise her child, to be her partner. Despite these feelings, he hesitates. His divorce and his responsibility to his daughter Do-ah prevent him from taking the first step and confessing his feelings to Ha-ri. Meanwhile, I-sang, who had previously avoided serious relationships, notices that his affection for Ha-ri is becoming too strong to ignore. He begins to show more care and attention, sometimes even offering to help her with her issues at work. Ha-ri notices his changes, but her past relationship failures make her cautious. At work, Ha-ri faces a new challenge. Her project about couples going through fertility problems is finally starting to gain momentum. This professional recognition brings her some satisfaction, but personal issues continue to distract her from fully immersing herself in her work. Her superiors still doubt her ability to lead the project because she has no personal experience with motherhood. This makes Ha-ri feel extra pressure, but she uses this opportunity to focus even more on her professional development. The relationship between Ha-ri and the two men begins to develop in an unpredictable direction. Jae-young realizes that his attachment to Ha-ri is becoming a problem and decides to talk to her about his feelings. He wants to offer her his support as a partner, but he doesn't know how she'll react to that, knowing that her heart still belongs to someone else. Ha-ri, for her part, grows increasingly attached to I-sang, but she realizes that his reluctance to have children could be a problem for their future. It's at this point that I-sang decides to change his outlook on life. He comes to realize that Ha-ri means more to him than he thought, and that he's willing to reconsider his beliefs about marriage and children for her sake. This inner change leads him to an unexpected decision. He wants to confess his feelings to Ha-ri and offer her the chance to try to build a family together, even if he has to change his old life to do so. After Han I-sang's decision to confess his changed views on family and children to Ha-ri, his inner conflict becomes more apparent. He realizes that his previous beliefs about not wanting to have children and get married no longer match his current feelings. However, doubts still remain. He's not sure how Rai will accept his proposal, given her desire to become a mother through artificial insemination, and how far she's already come in the process. So this uncertainty causes him to procrastinate, though he decides he can't hide his feelings any longer. Jang Ha-ri, meanwhile, is fully focused on her work and preparing for the artificial insemination procedure. The process is well underway, and she feels both excitement and fear that her dream of becoming a mother may not come true. She tries to keep a confident demeanor, but the emotional strain continues to mount. Outwardly, she appears calm and determined, but deep down she realizes that her life is on the verge of major changes, and she is not yet fully prepared for them. At work, Ha-ri faces new challenges. Her project on fertility and infertility continues to receive positive feedback. However, her bosses and coworkers still look at her with some distrust because of her decision to become a single mother. This adds to the stress, but Ha-ri perseveres to prove her professional standing and competence despite her personal challenges. Yoon Jae-young, watching the situation unfold, realizes more and more that his feelings for Ha-ri are stronger than he thought. He begins to realize that he doesn't just want to be around her as a friend, but is ready to offer her a more serious relationship. However, he realizes that her heart could still belong to I-sang, and that keeps him from confessing. His concern for his daughter Do-ah and his uneasy relationship with his ex-wife add to his new doubts, making his situation even more difficult. So this episode sees a meaningful change in the relationship between the three main characters. I-sang, having overcome his fears and doubts, decides that he can no longer avoid his feelings for Ha-ri. He realizes that his affection for her is more important than his previous beliefs about life without children. He decides to talk to her and confess his changed views in order to give their relationship a new chance. Meanwhile, Jae-young, seeing I-sang spring into action, realizes that he could lose Ha-ri forever if he doesn't confess his feelings. However, he realizes that it may be too late now, as Ha-ri has made the choice to become a mother, and her decision could completely change her life, leaving him out of the picture. When I-sang finally finds the strength to talk openly with Ha-ri, it becomes an important moment for both of them. He honestly admits that he's willing to rethink his attitude toward his family and children for her sake. He no longer wants to run away from the responsibility and feelings he's experiencing. Ha-ri is stunned by his confession. She's long thought that I-sang would never change his mind, and now her own plans for the future are beginning to crumble before her eyes. Her hesitation between the two men becomes apparent. She realizes that I-sang is finally ready to be with her on her terms. But she also can't ignore the fact that Jae-young has always been there for her and supported her. These feelings lead to a difficult choice: which man will really be able to share her dream of having a family and support her in her most difficult moments? She realizes that her decision could completely change her life and the fate of each of the men. After Han I-sang confesses that he's willing to reconsider his old views for Jang Ha-ri's sake, she finds herself in a difficult situation. On the one hand, she's been waiting for I-sang to take this step for a long time, since her feelings for him were once strong. But on the other hand, her life is already moving in a different direction. She's almost finished preparing for artificial insemination and is ready to become a mother on her own, without a man. This causes her internal contradictions and doubts. Ha-ri begins to reevaluate her future. She can't deny that I-sang has an important place in her life, but his previous indecisiveness and adamant attitude toward marriage and children are still fresh in her mind. She fears that his current willingness may be temporary or due to only a short-term impulse. At the same time, she can't help but consider that Yoon Jae-young has always been there for her, supported her, and probably has feelings for her too, although he hasn't voiced them directly. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young also feels that his time of inaction has passed. He notices I-sang making moves toward Ha-ri and realizes that his chances of starting a family with her are diminishing by the day. However, Jae-young is still hesitant to talk openly about his feelings. He's afraid that his confession might ruin their friendship, which puts him in the position of a perpetual observer instead of actively fighting for his happiness. At work, Ha-ri continues to promote her project related to fertility and motherhood. This project has become a personal endeavor for her, as she herself faces similar issues in her life. Thanks to her efforts, the project is attracting interest from a wide audience, and her superiors are finally beginning to recognize her contribution to the magazine. Despite her professional successes, personal issues and uncertainty about the future still plague her. I-sang, realizing that his outspokenness didn't immediately lead to the result he expected, doesn't give up. He continues to show Ha-ri that he's willing to support her, even though she's made the decision to become a mother without his input. He wants to prove that he can be someone she can count on, that he's willing to make compromises for her and their possible future together. Ha-ri is touched by this, but she's still not sure if he can keep it up in the long run. Soon there comes a point where Ha-ri is faced with having to make a final choice. She realizes that her future decision will not only determine her life as a mother, but also the fate of her relationships with the men around her. Against the backdrop of all these events, she decides to proceed with the fertilization procedure and prioritize her desire to become a mother. Jae-young learns that Ha-ri has not given up on her plan and is already in the final stages of preparation for the fertilization. It's a moment of truth for him. He realizes that if he doesn't make a move now, he might lose the chance to be with her forever. His inner hesitation leads to a decision. He must confess his feelings. Jae-young wants to offer her the chance to build a family together, but he worries that his confession could be seen as a desperate attempt to keep her around rather than a sincere proposal. Jang Ha-ri's decision to continue her journey to motherhood through artificial insemination remains her top priority. She is already at the final stage, and her determination is unwavering. However, thoughts of how it will affect her personal life continue to haunt her. Han I-sang and Yoon Jae-young are both present in her life, each in their own way trying to hold an important place in her heart, but she realizes she has to prioritize. I-sang, who has recently opened up to her, shows great care and tries to be there for her, despite her decision to become a mother without his involvement. His change of heart impresses Ha-ri, but she can't help but wonder if he's really willing to support her in such a serious and long-term decision as motherhood. Despite his efforts, she still has doubts about their future together. On the other hand, Jae-young, who has been supporting Ha-ri all this time, is also struggling to express his feelings. He realizes that he missed a lot of time, and his indecision in the past might have ruined his chances of being with Ha-ri. However, he's not ready to give up so easily. The conviction is growing in his soul that he can offer her the stability and support she deserves. Ha-ri continues to actively work on a magazine project related to fertility and infertility issues. So this project not only helps her professionally, but also gives her a deeper understanding of her own situation. She sees how many women face similar problems, and it gives her the strength to move forward despite criticism and mixed opinions from others. However, there comes a moment in her life when she is forced to think seriously about her choices. Sang openly shows that he's ready to support her at any stage, even if it means that he won't become a father right away. Jae-young, for his part, increasingly expresses his concern and support, reminding Ha-ri that they've been friends for years and that he knows her better than anyone else. Ha-ri's internal conflict is escalating. She is faced with a choice: stay true to her decision to become a mother alone, or let one of the men be a part of her future life. She begins to realize that this choice will not only affect her life, but also the lives of those around her. When the day of the artificial insemination procedure arrives, Ha-ri has mixed feelings. She is ready to become a mother, but the thought of doing it alone, without the support of a man, makes her think again. She realizes that love and support are as important as her determination, but time is running out. Jang Ha-ri's artificial insemination procedure becomes the centerpiece of her life. She is at the medical center preparing for this important step, but her thoughts keep returning to her personal dilemmas. Despite her determination to become a mother, her heart is still wavering. Doubts about whether she can go through it alone without the support of a partner become more and more acute. Meanwhile, Han-sang, feeling like he's losing the opportunity to be with Ha-ri, decides to take the final step. He realizes that her choice to become a mother through artificial insemination is inevitable, but he doesn't want to stay away. He finds her at the clinic and firmly confesses that he is ready to accept her decision and support her along the way, despite his previous reluctance to have children. This confession comes as a surprise to Ha-ri. She's long thought that Sang wasn't ready to take on such a responsibility. Now that he's ready to be there for her, she faces even more doubts. Jae-young, for his part, also realizes that time is running out. He realizes that if he doesn't make a move on Ha-ri now, he'll miss her forever. He knows that Sang has decided to take an important step and realizes that his own inaction could result in him remaining just a friend. Despite his indecision and misgivings, he decides to talk to Ha-ri and openly express his feelings. Jae-young believes that their longtime friendship and mutual support can be the foundation for something more. When Ha-ri encounters two men who are willing to support her, she begins to realize that her decision to become a mother no longer has to be her solitary choice. Now, however, she feels she faces a different dilemma. Which one of them can she trust completely? She knows that her choice will change not only her life, but also the life of one of these men. Her friends and co-workers at work notice that Ha-ri is in emotional turmoil, but no one guesses the depth of her inner contradictions. Professionally, she continues to show success, and her fertility project receives recognition, but personal worries distract her from focusing fully on her career. Sang continues to prove his willingness to change his life for Ha-ri. He offers her the option that they can be together regardless of her decision to motherhood, and he'll be willing to support her in everything. His confidence and determination impress Ha-ri, but she's still afraid that he might not be able to handle the long-term consequences. She knows how important and difficult motherhood is, and she's not sure if Sang will be able to take on that kind of responsibility in the future. Jae-young, despite his confession of feelings, offers Ha-ri a different path, a more stable and predictable one. He shows her that he's ready to be the father of her child and create a real family with her. His care and companionship have always been a part of her life, and now she realizes that he would be a reliable partner, ready to support her every step of the way. After much hesitation, Jang Ha-ri makes a decision. Her desire to become a mother remains at the center of her life, but now she realizes that it's not just important for her to realize her dream of motherhood, but to do it with someone who can support her and be there for her. This realization leads her to have to decide which of the two men she is willing to share her future life with. Han-sang, despite his long-standing aversion to marriage and fatherhood, has proven that he's willing to change his attitude for Ha-ri's sake. He openly showed that her importance in his life is greater than his previous beliefs. His support and determination have been an important factor for Ha-ri, but she still fears that perhaps his change may be temporary. This fear keeps her uneasy and makes her wonder if he'll be able to handle his role as a father when things get more complicated. Jae-young, for his part, offers Ha-ri stability and reliability. He's already proven that he can be a good father to his daughter Dua, and is willing to support Ha-ri in her decision to become a mother. His offer to be by her side and create a real family based on years of friendship and mutual support seems reasonable and attractive. But Ha-ri realizes that her feelings for Jae-young are more about gratitude and affection than the romantic love she'd like to experience in marriage. Meanwhile, Ha-ri's work is still going strong. Her fertility project continues to receive approval from her colleagues and superiors. She feels like her career is finally heading in the right direction, but personal worries distract her. She realizes that this project is not just a professional success for her, but a reflection of her inner struggle for the right to motherhood and personal happiness. When Ha-sang and Jae-young both offer her their support and are willing to share her future, Ha-ri faces the most difficult dilemma of her life. She realizes that one of them will be a part of her life forever, and that choice will change her destiny. But who will she choose? She knows that with Ha-sang she has a chance at love, but she fears that his old beliefs might take over again. With Jae-young, she can create a stable and secure family, but realizes she lacks the romantic spark. Meanwhile, Ha-ri continues to move toward completing the artificial insemination procedure. Her willingness to become a mother remains undeniable, but she's no longer sure she can do it alone. She begins to feel that her dream of independent motherhood was just a way to avoid the deep emotional connections that have always scared her. As she faces this realization, Ha-ri decides to talk to both men frankly. She confesses to them her fears and doubts that her future is not just a matter of motherhood, but also a matter of her happiness in a relationship. Ha-sang and Jae-young listen to her with understanding, and they each try to convince her that they can be a part of her life. After a frank conversation with Ha-sang and Yoon Jae-young, Jang Ha-ri still can't make a final decision. Both men offered their support and expressed their willingness to be with her regardless of her choice. But this moment has only intensified her inner doubts. She has to make a choice not only about who she wants to be with, but also what kind of lifestyle she is willing to embrace. Each of the men symbolizes a different path for her. With Ha-sang she can experience a love full of romance and passion, while with Jae-young she can experience a calm and secure family life. Ha-sang, realizing her internal struggle, decides to give her time and space. He realizes that what Ha-ri needs most right now is support, not additional pressure. He promises to be there for her when she's ready to make a decision, and leaves her alone with her thoughts. So this gesture gives Ha-ri mixed feelings. On the one hand, she appreciates his willingness to support her dreams, but on the other, she's still intimidated by his previous beliefs about life without children. Jae-young, despite his habit of always being there for her, also decides not to pressure Ha-ri. He knows that her choice shouldn't be based on a sense of duty or friendship. He continues to care for his daughter Do-ah and tries to support Ha-ri in whatever decisions she makes, even if they don't lead to them being together. His sincerity and support doesn't go unnoticed, and Ha-ri begins to appreciate his constant presence in her life more and more. Meanwhile, preparations for the artificial insemination procedure are coming to an end. Ha-ri feels that her life is about to change forever. Her expectations and fears are mixed. She is afraid of possible failures and at the same time worried about how her motherhood will affect her future. She realizes that no matter who she ends up with, she has already taken an important step. She has decided that she will become a mother, no matter what the circumstances. At work, the situation is also changing. Ha-ri's superiors are beginning to have more confidence in her competencies. Her fertility project is being recognized, and her efforts to promote the magazine are finally starting to pay off. However, personal worries prevent Ha-ri from fully focusing on her career. Her thoughts constantly return to how her choices will affect her life and how she will be able to balance work and raising a child. When the day comes for Ha-ri to undergo the procedure, she is in a state of deep anxiety. She still hasn't made a final decision about her relationship with Ha-sang and Jae-young, but one thing is certain: she wants to become a mother. So this step will be the beginning of her new life, and she decides she won't wait another minute. She goes forward, confident in her choice. Meanwhile, Ha-sang and Jae-young continue to experience their own emotions and expectations. Both men realize that Ha-ri's fate depends on her own decision, and that they can't impose their desires on her. For they are both willing to support her no matter what choices she makes, but each of them hopes that her choice will lead him to her heart. Jang Ha-ri has mixed feelings after completing the artificial insemination procedure. She has made a big decision and her life is about to change dramatically, but her emotions are still filled with doubts and fears. Although she is sure of her choice to become a mother, her personal relationships remain unresolved. The voices of Ha-sang and Yoon Jae-young still echo in her head as they offer their support, but she doesn't know how to proceed. Ha-ri realizes that she needs time to sort out her feelings for each of the men. She begins to spend more time alone, contemplating what her future will be like. On the one hand, Ha-sang has suddenly opened up to her in a new way. His willingness to support her and accept a child impresses Ha-ri. but she's still not sure if he'll be able to support her over the long haul without being disappointed in his choice. Jae-young, on the other hand, has always been a reliable support. Their long-lasting friendship has given Ha-ri the confidence that he's someone she can rely on. However, she can't ignore the fact that her feelings for him aren't as romantic as she'd like them to be in order to build a family. Nevertheless, his willingness to help her raise a child remains an important factor in her decision. Ha-ri's work for the magazine is beginning to give her satisfaction. The fertility project continues to grow, and her superiors begin to recognize her efforts. Her colleagues also notice her professionalism, and Ha-ri feels that her career is finally beginning to stabilize. However, thoughts of motherhood and personal relationships keep her from fully immersing herself in her work. Sang, seeing her indecision, tries not to rush things. He begins to show more patience and understanding, allowing Ha-ri to sort out her feelings. He realizes that his confession was unexpected, and that she needs time to take his proposal seriously. He continues to support her from a distance without pressuring her, and this makes Ha-ri feel grateful. Meanwhile, Jae-young decides that he needs to take action. He feels his chances are dwindling and decides to propose to Ha-ri that they start a family based on their friendship and mutual support. He admits that he doesn't want to be just a friend anymore, but his proposal seems more logical than romantic to Ha-ri. Ha-ri's inner turmoil grows. She realizes that her decision about the man she will build her life with cannot be dictated by logic alone. Her heart yearns for something more, and she wants to feel not only support but also love. Her mother, seeing Ha-ri in doubt, suggests that she simply follow her heart, reminding her that motherhood is not only a matter of personal choice, but also a matter of happiness. Jang Ha-ri is finally ready to meet both men to discuss her feelings frankly and make a final decision. Her inner turmoil over the past few weeks has led her to realize that she can no longer put off this important step. For motherhood is no longer just a dream, but a reality that requires clarity not only about the baby's future, but also about her relationships with Han Sang and Yoon Jae-young. Ha-ri decides to talk to Sang first. Their meeting is tense as Sang realizes that his future with her depends on her decision. He admits that he's fully prepared to be a part of her life and help her raise the baby. However, he also realizes that his past doubts may have left a mark on their relationship. He expresses his willingness to change his life for her. But Ha-ri sees that this decision is not easy for him and wonders if he has the strength for a long-term commitment. When he talks to Jae-young, the situation is no less complicated. He openly proposes to Ha-ri that they start a family based on their longtime friendship. His proposal sounds sincere, but Ha-ri can't ignore that her feelings for him aren't as deep as they are for Sang. Jae-young is ready to be with her, ready to take responsibility for their life together and raising a child, but Ha-ri realizes that her future with him will be built on friendship, not love. After these two meetings, Ha-ri is left in deep thought. Her heart is still wavering between the two men, each offering her different options for her future. She realizes that regardless of her choice, she must follow her feelings and choose the one with whom she sees her future, not only as a mother, but also as a woman seeking personal happiness. Support from friends and family helps Ha-ri realize that her decision must be based on love and understanding. She realizes that her choice will determine not only her future, but also the future of her child. Ha-ri begins to realize that her heart has already made a choice, and now she just needs to admit it to herself. After much deliberation, Jang Ha-ri decides it's time to make a final decision about her love life and future motherhood. She finally realizes that her choice should be based on her true feelings, not on pressure or fears of the unknown. Although both men have offered their support, her heart has already made the choice. Han Sang, despite his determination and willingness to change for Ha-ri's sake, remains for her the man with whom she has the strongest feelings. She realizes that his love and willingness to reconsider her views are important, and that she feels a true romantic connection with him. Nevertheless, her decision to be with him is difficult, as doubts remain about his readiness for a fulfilling family life, especially when a child is involved. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young sees that his attempts to win Ha-ri's heart have not produced the results he expected. He realizes that despite their friendship and deep affection, Ha-ri doesn't have the feelings for him that would make their relationship fulfilling. Though he has a hard time admitting it, he decides to back off after realizing that she needs a different kind of love that will give her happiness. Ha-ri meets with both men to talk openly with them about her decision. She thanks Jae-young for his support and loyalty, and tells him honestly that she sees him not only as a friend, but as someone she will always trust. Her heart belongs to Sang, however, and that's her final choice. Jae-young, despite his pain, accepts her decision with dignity, recognizing that she deserves to be happy. I-sang, upon learning of Ha-ri's is genuinely happy about her decision. He realizes that this is a big step for both of them and promises to support her in everything, including raising their child. Now their relationship takes on a new level. They are not just a couple, but people who are ready to build their future together, despite the challenges that may await them. At work, Ha-ri continues to perform at a high level. Her fertility project becomes a success, and she gets the recognition she deserves. She now feels more confident not only in her professional life but also in her personal life. Her future as a mother and partner with I-sang looks promising. After Jang Ha-ri makes the decision to be with Han I-sang, her life begins to take a clearer shape. She is now confident in her future not only as a mother, but also as a woman who has found love and support. I-sang, for his part, continues to prove that he's ready to be a part of her life. Despite his earlier doubts about fatherhood and family life, their relationship becomes more stable, and they both begin to plan their lives together. During this period, Ha-ri and I-sang face new challenges with the impending birth of their child. I-sang does his best to prove that his previous fears and beliefs no longer matter. He attends courses for expectant fathers and is actively involved in preparing for his role as a parent. His actions make Ha-ri feel confident that she has made the right choice, and she gradually gets rid of any remaining doubts. However, even with I-sang's support, Ha-ri realizes that she's still on the cusp of a big change. Pregnancy and preparing for motherhood is proving to be more emotionally challenging than she expected. She begins to realize that the reality of motherhood will be different from her perceptions, and these realizations cause her anxiety at times. Nevertheless, she relies on her determination and confidence that she can cope with all the challenges. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young is trying to move on. Although his feelings for Ha-ri are still strong, he realizes that her choice is final. He decides to focus on raising his daughter Dua and his career, which helps him deal with his inner pain. Their friendship with Ha-ri remains strong, though both realize that their relationship will never be the same again. At work, Ha-ri continues to perform outstandingly, and her contributions to the fertility and maternity project are highly valued. Her success on a professional level helps her feel more confident and allows her to cope with personal challenges. She receives support from her colleagues, who now see her not only as a competent professional, but also as a strong woman who is able to combine her career and personal goals. In the drama's finale, Ha-ri and I-sang are ready to start a new chapter of their lives. They organize their home together, prepare for the birth of their child, and discuss further plans for the future. Their relationship becomes a solid foundation for a family life based on love, understanding, and support. They realize that there are challenges ahead, but now they are confident that they can overcome them together.